Welcome everyone to Tartarian, Australia. We start with the legions that stand behind us right now through the light language. Thank you, Joe, so much. We're just going to introduce ourselves to this podcast and Zoom meet. We're beaming in today from Australia, looking at the premise, going after the premise that there is a crystal city here in the middle of the Australian desert, and how that weaves and winds around our fake history and our true history. So welcome everyone. Joe, Ricardo, start. Introduce yourself. Where are you? Quick round table.
Jojo, Ricardo, we're from Central Highlands in Vic. Nice to meet you all. Pleasure to be on the journey with you all. Yeah.
Yeah, this is exciting.
All right, KB, where are you from?
I'm from Arizona. I'm in the States. I've actually never been to Australia or anything, but yeah, I'm very excited still. Yeah, KB, I've been watching Campbell for like probably a year or two. Just been super into all of this. Can't wait to get into it more.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Liam.
Hey, guten tag, namaste, and a bloody Aussie g'day. I'm in Ocean Grove right now in Victoria. We've always had a house here, but I'm also from Princess Hill in Melbourne. My family's from Melbourne, and I actually found out about you, Callie, because I saw your video of Newman College, and I lived there at Newman College for 3 years. And the funny part of that story is I was in a car accident 1 month before I started living there. And what happened was my dad fell asleep at the wheel. We rolled off the highway 7 times. And as we were rolling, I had this feeling of like, oh, what a shame. Like I had more to do. And then within a month, I was living at the college. And I have a little bit of information just to share briefly about that. But yeah, their story about that whole it's all fake. Their story's fake. And it's a magical place. And it's a shame that there's rats infested the building.
Awesome, man. Adam, hi.
Hi, Kelly. Hello, everyone. I'm sitting up in the mountains behind the town of Mullumbimby in the Byron Shire, and a nice area on my permaculture farm, and just been absolutely enthralled with everything that Campbell and Kelly and Joe have been discussing, as well as the broader sort of community across the world. And lucky to live in a place that may not have any grand old Tartarian buildings, but we do have a number of sort of forbidden history sort of sites and places that seem to go back a long way and have seemingly had their history suppressed, that people in this area, including the Strongs, of course, have been exploring, and others. And there's a lot going on in this area on those grounds.
Thanks, Adam. It's interesting because the origin of civilization apparently started on the east coast of Australia. And it's so interesting that the east coast of Australia is the only place that has no Tartarian structures. So that's an interesting thing to have a look at. Thank you. All right. Brehum one. What's your name? Welcome.
Hey guys, my name's Brendan. I'm originally from New Zealand, from the east coast of the North Island, a place called Tairāwhiti. I grew up below Mount Hikurangi, which is apparently the first place where the sun touches this realm every morning when it rises. I've sort of been into this information ever since probably about 2016, 2017, when the first sort of iteration of the video, There Are No Forests on Earth, came out, and that kind of leads from one place to another. And ever since then, I've pretty much been going around the world, most continents, most sacred sites, observing and just taking it all in. And now I've been living in Sydney for 12 years. This is my home base, and it's awesome to finally sort of have a bit of a roundtable discussion. So thanks a lot for this, Kelly, for bringing us all together. And my main area of research is harmonic grid research. Ever since I was a child and I discovered Bruce Cathy's books in our local library in New Zealand, I've sort of been quite just pursuing it relentlessly, for well over 20 years now. And he actually gave me some information probably about 15 years ago that's probably relevant to what we're going to discuss today. And the penny dropped the other day when I saw a particular post. So yeah, hopefully I can share that with you a bit later on. But thank you. Please continue.
Joe, where are you coming in from?
I'm in Orange and have been in Orange since March. And before that, I was in Mullumbimby for 2 years. So I know the area, and I'm really curious about Mount Chincogan and its very obvious shape. And it has a lot of energies and things there. That always fascinated me, that mountain, because it's so prevalent in there. But I'm actually not going to be here much longer in Orange, and I am focusing on going on a road trip to Uluru this year. And where I'm living is sold, and it actually closes in November. So I was thinking, do I look for somewhere else where I am? And no, I'm getting on the road. And I understand that what I need to do is to bring energy and light language to my entire journey from here to Uluru. So I'm not sure what will happen after that, but definitely want to be inland for the 21st of December, wherever we end up.
So are you suggesting you're going to set up base camp for us, Joe, and pre-pave the way with light language and signposts for us all to follow? Excellent.
I am figuring on being there obviously before the 21st. So I'll let everybody know where I am if anybody wants to join me.
Fantastic. All right, Tartarian Hunter Oz. Hello, Helen. Where are you coming in from?
Jingiwala, my brothers and sisters. I'm coming from Gamilaroi Nation, and I would like to acknowledge my country. I am Tartarian Hunter number 3, who is going to Uluru. Woohoo!
Excellent.
And I'm with Kelly Jones, who is my longtime bestie. We've been working together for many lifetimes. And I'm pretty excited. I'm from near Inverell. I live in a 3,000-acre property with my amazing husband. We're all about regenerative agriculture, but this is like another whole level. So I'm in.
You're in. And you've got a very special connection with our Indigenous, Helen, as well.
Yeah, so I've been working with the Bundjalung over near Jabulam with Banam Louis Walker, and also a lot of the elders. Our charity put a grant together for the bushfire grant, and we're looking to get our elders together to create culture and language development. So I'm deeply, it's in my DNA to be involved. Obviously for all of us, I think we feel the same. So I'm very blessed to be honoured to be working on this project and other sort of Indigenous projects that I work on. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And Kelly and I spoke with one of our sisters yesterday, the day before yesterday, and I won't share anything now, but it was really exciting. I'll just leave that there. ...
Thanks, Helen.
Hanging.
All right, so there's a bunch of people who haven't got their videos on. So welcome everyone out there, include in the chat, that hasn't got their videos on. If you'd like to say anything right now, just unmute yourself and say hi. Otherwise, we will move on. All right. Well, look, welcome everyone. So we're just going to contribute anything we've got. So the premise we're working with today, as we all know, is that there is a crystal city in the Australian desert. Now, the premise is that crystal city's potentially always been there. It's just been on a frequency band that we have been ripped away from painfully. We don't know yet if we were ripped out of that frequency band and forced down, or if we are striving to raise ourselves up for the first time. We're not sure the order of events here, but what we do know is that we've got a high potential now with this Tartarian program busting, amazing mind map that we're creating. And I'm really stand behind that we are literally on this Tartarian consciousness is so transformational because it busts down everything. Once you understand history is a lie, you understand everything is a lie. And once you understand everything is a lie, it's very easy to disconnect from every other aspect of the programming through all other different aspects of culture and society. And of course, we get the beautiful reward this time. How rare is this? We can actually go outside to our fucking cityscapes and actually see it for our own eyes. It doesn't have to remain lofty and intangible and subjective and objective and someone else's opinion, someone else's words, some special informer that's here to present this secret information that only they can present. It strips all that shit away and you can go and see it with your own eyes, right? So that's why it's so profound. So here we are with the premise that something has always been up and amazing with the Australian desert and its vast, desolate landscape to our current eyes. So right now with these veils dropping, which is us, the programming dropping, and all of this surge of energy winding and the timelines weaving and winding and the Mandela effect and all this stuff going on around us in true science fiction manner, we have the potential of actually focusing our intent, trusting the inner child, making a journey, taking that action, very hero's journey, isn't it? Very Joseph Campbell here, and march our way to the center of the unknown and stand there and fucking stare it down. So, Campbell, would you like to add anything to that intro?
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, I think this is all about, like you said, this is all perception, isn't it? And or what we can see and seeing further. And you know, Tartaria is the mountain, I guess, you know, that's given us, that we've been able to climb, that, you know, we can see further. So I think this is, you know, it's a manifestation kind of journey, isn't it? We've got to create this as we're going. Pretty much. I was listening to Howdy McCloskey last night, and he was talking about William Shatner, right, went to space. And yeah. Obviously, right, I don't know, he went to a studio or something, but he sort of put forward the concept, maybe it was all the Trekkies that actually got that going, because they just wanted to see him in space, and someone mentions it and all this focus goes on it. And so then the next thing, we've got this big production of, oh, look, Captain Kirk in space. So let's do the same thing. You know, that's sort of the concept we're working with. You know, it's collective consciousness focused on one thing, creating reality. And if we talk about the timelines, and, you know, there's a lot of evidence, you know, including Mandela effect, that the timelines are being played with and switched around. If that's happening, then that makes our job easier. Yeah. Because we have a lot more versatility in creating new outcomes. So yeah, let's do it.
And this essentially is cooperative magic. And isn't it like that sounds so close to cooperative magic, corroboree, you know, this idea of us bringing our intent into a lofty you know, focus and actually following it through into this unified dance at the end, which would end up for us being the solstice on the 21st in the desert, wherever that is. So who would like to start with bringing to the table their thoughts, feelings, information?
So can I say something first then?
Yes, go Joe.
Okay. So this is an unknown for our logical, rational brains. And I might be speaking to the choir here, preaching to the choir. So how would I, from my perspective, how do I create this? What does the Crystal City feel like? What do you think it feels like? What do you think it would feel like to actually have it appear in front of you? So there is a reality where that is the truth, where we have found it, whether we know it with our logical brain or not. So for my manifestation, process. It is to feel the frequency so that my frequency becomes a match for the frequency of that reality, that crystal city. So there's no distance, there's no difference between there and here energetically. So what is my intent is to feel myself there, and to create a rubber band between my energy body and the energy of that place, so that you then get drawn there because you are an energy match. So that's what I want to do. I haven't got any logical idea of how to find it. I've got no idea except starting driving inland and to see how you go. So you just keep feeling it's an energy match that you're looking for, and that's what I'm going to start with.
Yeah, I agree. It's got a lot to do with trust. You know, like I've got a bus out the front and it's a manual and I can't drive it because my hand's still not working properly. But I'm still going. I mean, whatever needs to be fixed will be fixed. It doesn't matter. It's already happened. That doesn't even come into the equation. So that's kind of where you got to come from, I think, is it's just happened. And it's the connection thing, like Joe said, rubber band, like this is what they do to us, right? They get us to focus on what they want, right? And we create it for them. So we're just using the same, you know, the same tactic, the same magic, but for good instead of evil.
What we're effectively doing, I believe, is creating a mandala. And I think that's like what Shambhala actually is. It's a mandala of minds, enlightened beings coming together and becoming bigger than their themselves.
I think also to admit that we don't know. Like, you know, for so long we've been, you know, impressed upon that we should know what we're doing, who we are, where we're headed. But take all that away, and yeah, to ponder, like to go way deeper than we've ever even imagined of the things we don't know that are right in front of us. And just even looking at buildings through different eyes, it's mind blowing once you can just shift your perspective, even the smallest amount. Yeah. Yep, that'll do for now. I'm just so excited. It's such exciting times to shift our whole perspective moving forward, rather than being caught up in all the fear and crazy narrative. To still be mind blown, to be able to be excited is awesome right now, because the world is crazy. So, you know, and it's a really crucial time to be co-creating in the new reality. And this is a big part of it, is by remembering, you know, putting all the bits back together, so we can visualize an incredible future moving forward.
I mean, we hear so much about the 5D, but people seem to miss the point that you've got to do something. You've got to go and step into it. You don't, you know, it's like the whole waiting for a savior thing, isn't it? You know, it's all well and good unless they don't turn up.
Nation, it's our Magi Nation. It's ourselves. It's magic, and it's our sovereignty within that word. It's so yeah, to be able to imagine what were like, to then jump forward about where we're headed. It just blows it way apart, and it's so exciting rather than feeling overwhelming, which so many people are, unfortunately.
Well, it's stepping outside the narrative. It's like that picture you see, you know, when that person's peeking under the veil at the end, out under the plane. You know, that's what we're doing. Like, everyone's stuck in the 3D world and the narrative, and the more you pay attention to that, the more you're stuck to it. So yeah, let's just, you know, just a bugger peeking under the veil. Let's just like cut a big hole and just walk out and just walk the other way. You know, if we want to, you know, let's just do it and create it.
Imagination. I love that, Joe. I'm magication. I'm magication.
Yeah, and ion is basically, you know, the part of a cell that is the energy. You know, and that's the part that they break down and they go, oh, there's actually nothing there. It's just energy, right? So ion, that's at the end of all these words, right? So that's the power. So it's, you know, that's part of that word spell as well that they don't tell us about, is they're talking about the God power when there's the ion.
Hey,
And
Vic.
So I just wanted to mention something that I actually saw at the grocery store today, which I thought was very interesting and very timely. I don't know if you know of the National Geographic cover right now.
Oh, Lost Cities.
That's actually what's on the cover of National Geographic right now. So
Fascinating.
that's how I wanted to start the conversation. I just thought that was very
Timely.
100 monkeys, you can't stop an idea. It's out.
Well, I can tell you that our conversation with the elder sister the other night, the reason that we managed to like have this amazing dialogue is because I'm not kidding you guys, 3 months ago. And so 3 months ago, she had a dream that she was walking through a crystal city in the desert. So when I said, I'm here to talk about the crystal city in the middle of the desert, she was just like, what? So that is a massive sign to me that our Indigenous are dreaming this, like, and was so prepared to have the conversation with me because of this dream. So I'm just putting that out there.
A big part of our programming has been to think that like time travel, space travel is in like a UFO going to the stars. But I mean, what really is a Buddhist monastery in the middle of the Himalayas other than a spaceship? Like,
Yeah.
So true.
And do you guys notice? I don't know if you have like the screensavers from Google or whatever on the TV or on your computer. It's always showing crazy images of like these temples and these landscapes that just, I'm like, why are they showing this to us unless they want us to think about it? Like, I've never seen like these like Chinese like towers with these things, and they just have it on the screensaver on Google all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that? I never saw that stuff before.
I know.
They
So
like putting things right under our noses so we don't see them, don't they?
I know, isn't it? Is it us waking up because we are the observers now,
Exactly.
seeing it for the first time because our minds are or is it them weaving their magic? You know, like we're starting to see what
Or
they've
are we
always done.
attracting it? Are we attracting those pictures and other people are getting other pictures?
So
Yeah.
this map is just 3 maps laid onto one map. So you can see and this is maps that have been sent through the Facebook page. So we've got the Australian map, and in the middle there we've got where the inland sea used to be, which you can make out. And then on top of that, we've got all those fuzzy dots that's where all the mining is. So, and Alice Springs is just off from the beginning of that inland sea. And then which is sort of the energetic of where we're looking at, I guess. And then I started to see the little towns that were in that, and right on the edge, right in the middle was a town called Harts Range, which I just thought, whoa, man, how is this? We're looking for a city in the middle of the Australian desert. Frequency we're not tuned into yet. But we keep hearing these words, the heart of Australia, the heart of Australia, the heart of the world, the heart of the world, the heart of the world. And then right there, next to Gem Tree, is Harts Range. So I'm just bringing it up.
Gem Tree, hello.
I know. So the whole region is full of crystals and gems. It's full of these amazing, beautiful, shiny, gorgeous rocks. And most famous for the Fossa King there, just to add to that concept
Really?
of crystals, literal crystals. Now, it's interesting that they are not mining that area. Well, according to the mine map that I have, they're not mining that area. The middle here in Australia is like, for all purposes, we would know to be completely desolate. But behind me in this artwork, this is what Harts Range is famous for. These purplish mountains. So it's the area that we're looking at, Harts Range, has got a mountainous landscape. So what do we know about mountains, teams? We know they're not mountains, right? We know they're either melted cities, they're either mining waste, or they're like cut down trees. So we know they indicate civilization before. So I'm just going to stop sharing that now.
Wow.
Any thoughts?
Anyone?
Well, even looking at the names, guys, is, you know, the heart range. Well, what have we got at the end of the day? All we really have is our heart energy and our intention and our imaginations, which sort of set us on our path for lives. And Providence, it's quite interesting that KB shared the cover of National Geographic just at this time. You know, these synchronicities and things sort of, they give you an indication to your real self, I guess, and you feel it inside that what you're doing is something meaningful. It's kind of mysterious in a way. We're learning how to operate, you know, as human beings again. You know, the Japs aren't bombing us anymore or anything like that. So we've had a few years out of that. So, you know, the warfare and survival exercises, all this sort of thing. So we're starting to rediscover ourselves, and the whole dreaming and the corroboration of things. It's the meanings are becoming apparent to us now, where they may have just been words, you know, when 20 or 30 years ago.
The spell is breaking.
Yeah, the spell is breaking, and people are starting to rediscover themselves and their innate ability to create and move forward in the world. And, you know, I think with that power of creation, there comes a massive amount of responsibility. And I guess when people reach that right level of being able to manage themselves, then these things start opening up to them, you know.
Yep. Everyone remember this? Oh, you can't say it. It's invisible. Oh my God. Oh, Celestine prophecy. God.
Yes, the Celestine prophecy.
It won't show me. Oh, there you go. It kind of flashed it in. That's pretty much what you were just talking about, Brendan. Like, it's noticing, you know, the signs, right, and following them, and connecting up. And I mean, you know,
yeah,
Kel and I can talk about what's gone in the last 2 weeks, and it's just ridiculous. Like, yeah, when you follow the signs, everything just appears.
We pick up on threads, you know, every few years. I notice a wave will come through where people share a lot of relevant information, and they seem to be on the same wavelength, you know, with each other, and like-minded groups meet, and that might quieten down for a few years as people just go about their regular business, and then somehow it'll be sparked off again, you know, and this might span periods of decades, but it's a slow progression. It seems like a natural progression. Putting up, you know, to something, us probably being able to manage our own capabilities and deploy them correctly. By the way, I'll just quickly say, this isn't a NASA cup. Can everyone read that? That is a cup from the Australian Research and Space Exploration.
I have a NASA hat, but it just says Satan instead. But I was thinking of just how cyclical everything is, and how everything's been here before. You know, where did they get all these ideas? Like the Wizard of Oz, the freaking Emerald City, every book I read as a child, every fairy tale, they all have similar themes. Like, where did these come from? I always thought, you know, how can this be fake? Like, what is magic? Because the science they're teaching us in school seems magic-ish, and then the magic I'm reading about in stories seems more realistic, really, you know. So that's just what I'm thinking of. It has to already be here.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that, I mean, because obviously all the, you know, fairy tales, like, you know, hello, they all live in castles with, you know, pointy hats, you know, we know the deal, right? That's the old world, and what we're given as the past is not. But who are the only people allowed to read fairy tales? It's like children. So maybe that's where it lives, right, in the imagination. So that's where we've got to bring it out of.
Yeah, innocence. We have to follow innocence through this path, because we're attempting not to go on an Indiana Jones trek and find the 13 crystal skulls. We are trying to actually tap into and tune into and be experiencing the reality of a different frequency band. So this is like a high-end expedition where we are moving not only in the physical plane, in a realm that has broken down to us, that we no longer, that we see through now, that we can see through to the real version of it. Our eyes can see through to more truth now in our physical environment than ever before. And so alongside that, so it's going to be fascinating to actually go through the desert with our Tartarian eyes on and actually start to look at every single hill, mountain, tree, everything that's sticking out of the ground. We're going to be like, melted building, cut down tree, blah, 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 and just like completely rewrite the landscape of the desert. Well, actually, I think we'll endeavor to mark all this on a map and illustrate it and actually have a cool Tartarian truth map of the whole process. We are then having to stand with our ancestors, like in all truth and vulnerability and authenticity, and say we're prepared to stand here until we can see through to the next dimensional field. Like, it's about us actually having the fortitude and the determination to follow a lofty idea through.
I think it's also, Kelly, about remembering, you know, like
the other layer
back together. Like, I love that word because it crosses back over into the physicality of things, of actually rebuilding things, like remembering, like putting our arms and our legs back in place, like our
To put back together.
yeah, and yeah, like you, Campbell, I love words, and I think there's a lot about language that that we, again, if we pick it apart and understand the root of a lot of words, it'll help again help us remember. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but remember the past, remember the cities we used to live in, remember the crystal grids, remember the ley lines, the song lines, a lot of it, just piecing it all back together.
Well, it's spells, and how many stories do we have of people, you know, speaking to the wind and speaking to God and speaking to nature, you know, basically just speaking, right, to the ether. Well, if you got the words wrong and you're not sure what the intention, you know, if you get that mixed up, then you're saying the wrong spell.
And feeling it too, not just remembering it, but, you know, like feeling it. And like, I don't know, reminiscing, I don't know what the word is, but it's not just mental is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, we know, guys, like when we look at mountains now, we like look at those mountains and we say, all right, is this a cut down tree? Is this a melted city? And with us staring at it through that idea, we see it differently. And that clicks in us a nostalgic, energetic, that activates the DNA from our memories. That activates that, because all that's, we haven't lost it. It's just been programmed. It's just, there's like been a layer put on top of it to sort of prevent us from accessing it. And so with our belief structure transforming, so we're staring at it with this eyes, these intentions. Man, I see giant trees now. Like every time I'm, you know how your TV, it just clicks into that sort of nature on repeat thing when you're not watching it. It just goes into some screensaver mode. And it's just like random pictures of the world's nature. And I'm just, every time it's like, that's cut down trees, melted building, cut down trees, melted building, quarry. And it's just like, and because of that, I can shut my eyes now and see what those trees actually look like. I can shut my eyes now and imagine those buildings and that civilization. I can actually see it in my mind's eye. And because I can see it in my mind's eye, we're getting really close to being able to see it in our, I don't know, what do you guys reckon? If we actually manage to see this crystal city, have we left the dimension? Or have we opened a doorway? Have we hit a mirrored doorway within this dimension? Like, where are we when we're standing in front of it?
Why not both?
Yeah, like I think all reality's here in the same space.
Why not both?
On different, yeah, exactly, on different frequencies. So we could be, you know, just have access to a higher frequency that we can see, which we do now, right? It's just like you were saying, you know, 5 years ago, you walk through a city and it's like, oh, you know, smelly, polluted, gross city. Now it's like, oh my God, look at that building and that building and oh, Antiquitech and what's that? But most of the population is still walking around going, oh, you know, bloody dirty city, I have to go to my job. So we've already risen above them. We can already see more. And that's the first step. And so that's what it is. We just keep seeing, you know, the higher you climb, the further you can see. And I think that's just the journey,
I think
right? The
we've
hero's journey
already
of the
had a
mountain.
little bit of a tidbit too, as far as Crystal Palaces goes, back in the original Superman. Like we all saw that when he was in there.
And that got grown, didn't it? Did that just kind of grow that city out of the? I can't remember how it formed.
I'm not
But,
sure. It might have brought a little bit of a piece with him from his home planet, and
Yeah,
grew up
threw it in the snow or something. Because we've got another chat coming up. We've got a few, but we've got one coming up with Sonia, and she's a like a I don't know what's Sonia, Joe, a Super Saiyan. She's like this. What is she, Joe?
I've had a talk with her, and she's another level altogether.
It's ridiculous.
When she gets a download, like people get a download and they'll get visions or hear words, she's in it 3D. So she's open. Her brain works differently to most of our brains, and it's what we will come to, I believe.
That's where we're going, yeah. And I literally mentioned Crystal Cities to her, and she goes, I'm having a download, and she just started, and we'll go into it with her, but she's walked through it, she saw the people, she said it's grown touched it, it's grown through like musical resonance, like fractal stacking of musical notes and things, and people
I think
it'll blow your mind.
I think a big part of this is following song lines, and I think that we have to walk this path. I don't think it's a path that's going to be able to be got to with a car. I think it's going to have to be sung our way to.
I love
in all the books I've read, all the stories about people going to the monastery to enroll in a course, the journey that when they start out to that moment of reaching the monastery is the initiation, and everything that you go through between gets you ready to actually start day one of the class. So our intent, holding that intent, everything that we go through, whether it's easy or hard, is adding to our whole, so that we will then be able to see it. So whatever we go through between now and that moment is a part of the whole process. So we are starting it today, or ever since we started talking about it. We are now stepping on this path and growing and changing and evolving between now and when we find it.
I think too, I came across a picture recently, and within our brain, we actually have a crystal palace. It is made up of the thalamus, the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary gland. So even just considering that inside our own minds, we have a crystal palace, you know.
Yeah. Hold that up.
Everything repeats, right? Throughout nature, everything is always like the same patterns over and over again. That makes sense, but that's crazy.
It's the microcosm of the macrocosm.
Exactly. Yep.
As within, so without.
Get around more about what's actually going on in the crystal palace in our brain and activate that more, then that might help shift we actually see.
It's like the Sherlock Holmes with his mind palace. I mean, you can literally superimpose your own creations on top of like 3D reality, and you can go to your own places in your own. You have that power as a creator. You can make whatever you want outside.
It feels like we're getting coming together around this sort of concept. Feels like we are bringing that cooperative magic to understanding how powerful we are, like as those creators. So individually, we're still wrapping our heads. I mean, we've done so much work individually and independently, but we're still wrapping our heads around that like final reconciliation of who we are. And
We're
how
gods with
yeah.
amnesia.
We are the gods with amnesia, and it's such a privilege to stand here and feel like we're finally waking up. Like, that's what it feels like. We're nowhere near it yet, but we are standing here waking up from the amnesia. And that's why I think our brains are going to start to go online in a whole other way.
Well, we're gaining our independence. The way I see it, I see like, maybe not all the human race, but, you know, at least us as, you know, like teenagers, right? 17, 18, we're starting to mature. We have to leave home. We have to, you know, make our own rules. We have to, you know, leave the system, right? That, because that's mummy and daddy, right? The nanny state. And so when you start out on, you know, in life and you're on your own, you've got to figure it all out. There is no rule book. And if you have one, it's always wrong. So it's just, and that's what we're doing now. It's the same thing. We've got to learn. We're just starting out. We don't know. This hasn't been done as far as we know for a while at least. So it's fun. It's exciting. I mean, that's where the magic lies, right? When you don't know what's happening, when you're just expecting good things, but you don't know what they are. That's when the universe or God or whatever can really, you know, amaze you, really send you really good things that you can't even imagine yourself.
God listens to those who listen to God.
Nice. I've got that article. Do you want me to share it quickly?
Yeah, bring it up. So the day after we did the first podcast around the Crystal City, this ended up flowing through the Facebook feed. And yeah.
So this is the original one. This is not, after this, they all came out saying, oh no, it was fake, it was fake, it was fake, it was a hoax. But this is the original one. And nothing about a hoax. Ruins of an ancient city discovered in Australia, 1,500 years old at least. Number of tombs and artifacts already discovered on the site suggests it could have been the capital of an ancient empire, completely unknown to historians until now. The site, which was first noticed on satellite pictures in 2013, the images revealed 90-degree angles, etc., etc. They dug it up. Here's one of the mummies. Don't think I can expand that. Oh, there you go. And so, yeah, basically, you know, they found artifacts. Thousands of artifacts have been recovered, including 756 items made of gold. This bowl weighing 2.8 kilograms was found inside one of the temples. One of the temples, yeah, right. And then literally after this, if I go back, this is just the city. And look, fake news, right? Hoax.
Yeah.
You know, it all just goes fake story, fake, blah, 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 blah. Oh, women arrested for having sex with a pit bull. Awesome. Yeah, so, and I'll show you this too. So we're talking about changing reality, right? And seeing things different. So you've probably all seen this kind of stuff, but this is cymatics. So this is using frequency to change reality. And this is a plate. This is a speaker underneath it. And they're literally just playing music onto this metal plate. So I'll just jump forward. There you go. So when they turned on 345 hertz, this is sand. Now, when they turn the frequency up, they get a different shape instantly.
Well, this just instantly just brings to mind, what is the desert filled with?
Sand. Yeah. Crystal sand. Excellent point.
I just wanted to say something. Campbell, your Leo energy is so strong, it's hard for me to jut in, but
How did you know I was a Leo?
My mind just went blank. Hold on one second. Oh yeah, so you were talking about how now we're gaining independence, right? And I agree, but I feel like I'm also gaining interdependence, or I don't want to say codependent is a bad word, but you know, I feel like I've been independent my whole life. I feel like I've already gained independence. I've been alone. I've been on this journey. I've figured all this stuff out by myself. I haven't had anyone to talk to about it. So through this process, I feel like I'm gaining the opposite. I feel like I'm gaining a community, you know, so.
The mandala.
Yeah, the
Mm.
Very good
Yeah.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good point.
the corroboree, the cooperative magic.
And the other thing about corroborees, which keeps coming into my mind when you say it, is what are they doing corroborees, right? They do lots of stamping and tapping sticks and stuff. It's like they're knocking.
Absolutely.
Knock, knock, let us in.
I mean, that's amazing. Like, you look at that sand, and you're so right. The whole of Australia is covered in red crystal sand, and full of gems and gold. By the way, do you know that gold is so common here in Australia? The whole idea of gold being rare is another lie. It is so common here in Australia, because I have a farm out in the bush and have spent a lot of time around this, is it actually grows through our gum trees into the leaves. It's so common. Gold is not scarce in Australia. We're the leading continent for opal production, gems, the sapphire country. Like, we are a nation covered in crystals, minerals, and gold. So when you look at cymatics and you actually see how dramatically frequency can transform what we're looking at, it's so easy to imagine that, like, Tartaria as a realm absolutely is superimposed on our current reality today. And that their whole agenda is just to keep us away from this frequency band. So what is this frequency band? What is the frequency band of the Crystal City in the Australian desert?
It'd be interesting to know what is actually mined in some of the areas. Like, I'm pretty into crystals and understand, you know, a bit of structure about crystals.
No, I've got some.
To know what's around, you know, like they would each have different frequency if it was emeralds or opals or.
Well, opals are down further into where my farm was, which is around the New South Wales Queensland border inland. But around Hart's Range, the centre, the crystals that I pulled up the other day, they were rubies. Rubies were a massive one. So red rubies were massive. Gold was massive. I'm trying to find
the unikite as well. There's one that's around. There's several, but it'd be interesting to look at what's actually mined and what the different resonance and frequencies are of some of those things they're mining. Might help picture something.
This is just a thought as well, but maybe they're mining them as a form of warfare.
Absolutely.
It's warfare, isn't it? Mining's awful.
Everything's warfare to them. They're at war with us consistently 24/7. Everything is warfare.
Yeah.
And our consciousness too.
They could be closing down the radio set, you know, the natural one, which people use to access other layers of reality and so on. By pulling all the stuff out of the ground, you're gradually shutting it down.
Yeah, well, they have a lot of the crystals have
manipulating
physio electricity charge too. So
Phasio, yeah. And crystal sets, remember crystal sets, like they were radios that worked for free.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is the big giveaway, right, is anything that they don't want us to have access to, they make really expensive. Right. Gemstones, all of them. That's why they're all in jewelry, excuse me, crowns and that, because, you know, they were used. That's why they sit over the third eye. That's why they have them in certain places. That they were using them as tech, basically, some kind of power. And as far as we know, that they were growing them. They were creating like their own gemstones.
In all of our technology, is it not?
Yeah.
They still do that nowadays. They still have lab grown gems and stuff. That's still going on.
So could they grow them with certain intentions and certain qualities and things in them, so that, you know, some of these, I was listening to a talk about the crown jewels, and they were saying that the crown jewels that we see, that basically none of them are real. None of them are the original crown jewels. They're all just replicas and replacements. Why would that be? You know, because the old ones actually had power. That's, I think so. Yeah,
Has anybody seen Stargate, where the Tok'ra build their crystal tunnels?
No.
I'm sure Callum has, but no.
Yeah, so the Tok'ra is a group of people, and they have to move around a lot because they're sort of wanted or hunted, or need to stay quiet. So they have a crystal, and when they go somewhere, they will put it in the ground, and it forms crystal tunnels, crystal rooms, crystal everything. And when they're ready to go, they take it and it just collapses and goes back to whatever it was. So a lot of the shows, as we know, are showing us certain
The
truths.
dark crystal as well, the Skeksis and the mystics, and they use their singing too to create and move things around.
The dark crystal.
They have the giant amethyst in the middle, and then the mystics come in and they sing and get to a resonance, and things start moving and shaking. And
Oh my God, I've just been looking at the minerals. Let me share the screen. Check this out. This came out of Heart's range where we're looking.
What?
Scepter amethyst. But look, are you ready for this next one? Look what they look.
Oh, that's bismuth. Fair. Is it?
That's
oh my
tick.
God.
That's tick.
I've never seen bismuth, and it just came into my consciousness in the last week or so. Is that what bismuth looks like?
Bismuth is similar to that, but it's stacked. It's sort of stacked in square.
Oh yeah. That's sort of
similar colors to that, like really metallic.
That silvery kind of stuff. Yeah. I know what it is now. But that looks like
it's called lactis sunstone.
That's a chipboard, computer chip, isn't it?
I know, but that's insane, don't you think? I've never seen anything like that.
And so is that a type of gem, or is that just one anomalous?
There's 2 very rare items found on private leases in the Hearts Ranges area.
That scepter as well, that's been made. Look at that. The chances of it growing, I mean, look at the cuts on those, the sides there. I mean, are they saying they found it like that, or that they found it and cut it?
They may not have found it like that.
The purple one's a little
the scepter
spicy.
is not really specifically that shape.
Look at that. This is also found from Hearts Range.
That's tourmaline, I think. Yeah.
I mean, these are beautiful.
Kyanite.
Beautiful. What? Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, am I showing you what we're imagining the city to look like right now? The building blocks of such a city.
Just an interesting thought that I've just had while this has all been going is, I wonder if this is an issue of scale.
An issue of scale. Talk more.
Do we have to shrink ourselves down to enter?
Well, I mean,
honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Anyone?
Well, I mean, let's not joke about that, because hello, the whole Tartarian consciousness is about fucking giants. We are the shrunken version of those giants, are we not? So, I mean, yeah, the scale issue is definitely a topic. So basically, gems, rubies are a big thing at Hearts Range.
What are rubies good for? Anyone know?
They use them for lasers, don't they?
Yeah, a lot definitely in lasers.
I've got a ruby on.
Maybe there is some good for focusing or something.
Well, yeah, the stones generally relate to the chakras too. Like they resonate with each of the chakras. So ruby would be related to the root chakra, which is our closest connection to the earth.
The earth, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, team, I mean, basically the whole area.
There's another scepter. They must be making them like that. Yeah, they must be cut into that. See that clear one?
This one.
No, they grow like that. That's why they're called scepter. So they've got the long bit and then the bit on the top that gives them that shape.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's bizarre. At least I don't call them Jeff Bezos rockets.
But I mean, if you're really imagining sort of the crystals that could be that building blocks of this sort of environment, I mean, this one just blows my mind. I've never seen anything like that. Have you guys? I've never seen anything like that.
I can't believe they've let that photo out. That's ridiculous.
Well, there's heaps of them. Look, this is a stone that it's really common.
Oh, it is. It's a kind of stuff. Oh my. Well.
Look how much of there is.
So, I mean, what would intelligent crystal look like, right? If these cities are grown and they're intelligent, is that like tech inside crystal?
Do you think all crystals are intelligent, maybe?
Definitely.
I think so.
Definitely.
They hold memory for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. that, yeah, they're definitely connected to something if they're not intelligent on their own.
So is it possible? So, okay, I've been, let me take it off screen
Oh my
share.
God, Kelly, you've actually got more tabs than me. Congratulations.
Oh, no problem. I have this quadruple
Amazing.
split inside my brain. And so I have a lot of things going on all
You
at
see,
once.
what you need, right? You need 3 different search engines, so then you don't have as many tabs on each one.
Yeah, I need 3 different computers. So, okay.
I
so-
don't know. Oh, sorry. I just wanted
Okay.
to say another thing about Gem. Sorry. I don't know if this has anything to do with it. I particularly am really into astrology, so I'm wondering if like the gemstones that go with your birth, like if certain people have like certain powers with them, like why like what is the significance of like certain ones being matched up to certain people? That's
Yeah, right.
kind of where that took me.
What's a Leo birthstone? Anyone know? Tiger's eye? No, that's tiger, not lion.
Mine's sapphire. So, Joe, you would probably know a little bit about that.
Yeah. a
I
little
thought
bit.
of that because
amethyst.
I'm a Cancer, so that was ruby, I think. So that's why I thought of it.
Mm.
So the heart would be emerald if we're talking like precious gems, wouldn't it? Because it's green.
Correct,
So is
which
it-
I was going to touch on before about the heart, like the Uluru being the heart chakra of the planet,
Mm,
and then Heart's Ridge or whatever, which made me think of Emerald Castle, the Emerald City.
the emerald. Oh, of
Wizard of
course.
Oz.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is there emerald out there? Is there like a trail, like a chakra trail of gems that?
So, like, you know, do you guys remember that last year, if you're following the disclosure channels, like there was a whole pile of monoliths that entered the consciousness of
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah,
Like that looked like this. I think the last total was about 1,100 of them suddenly appearing all over the world. Now, the monoliths are interesting to me because A, they disappeared. B, you know, we know something is going on here. Do you think potentially that a monolith, like all those monoliths turning on, could actually create a harmonic convergence, a harmonic convergence across the world? And that harmonic convergence, we've just looked at the impact it has on transforming the sand molecules, like the crystals in sand. Imagine what they would do for the whole planet, the whole realm. I don't even like saying planet anymore. That's like a naughty word. I don't even think realm. The whole realm like would instantly be transformed in a crazy manner. I mean, are we heading towards a harmonic convergence? And is there something about harmonics of sound that we have to include on our hunt for the Crystal City? What are your thoughts? Because can I just add one more thing? Out there near Pine Gap, they do some crazy sound like experiments. You can hear some weird shit when you're out in the desert. They're definitely using sound. Anyone got any thoughts?
Well, I'm wondering what material are those made out of? And like they're not
they
they're
just
the opposite of like a crystal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like not organic. It looks
No.
very, I don't like it. It gives me a bad vibe. I don't like those things.
Pyrite's
just-
very metallic looking like that, but I don't know what they're made from.
As far as I know, the ones that they found were just like literally aluminium tin pressed around a frame and riveted in.
Pop rivets.
Yeah,
Well, I mean-
literally. So if they're working, then they're like sending towers, aren't they? They're like modern tech with something in them, and they could create like a scalar wave, and then we would have that effect like in cymatics where it would change the frequency and literally. Because there's even videos, I've got to get one, where they grow cities with like iron filings and things and magnetic frequencies and music, and they literally grow these city looking things.
And then,
But-
I mean,
Yeah.
we've got the ghost cities where we know for sure they're growing fucking cities. So like
Yeah.
these monoliths have
Is there
been
any-
tuned into from some amazing psychic channels who have got very consistent information that these are in service to us, to this ascension event. They could be wrong.
Is there any consistency about where they're at? Like, are they on ley lines, or has anyone actually mapped them?
Let's ask that question. But look, there's
Very
one of
good
our
question.
little cut down trees.
Yeah.
Well,
This is Mount Connor, I think, isn't it?
Doesn't say.
Mount Connor, which is a lot of people mistake for Uluru. I've seen tourists stop thinking that it's Uluru, start taking photos, and then quickly realize it's Mount Connor. And from my understanding, Mount Connor is actually completely cut off to public access. It's almost like they've sacrificed and said the tourists can visit Uluru, but Mount Connor is completely cut off. And I think that's it. It looks like a giant tree, of course, the base of a giant tree, but it is apparently cut off for all public access. So there's something special about Mount Connor. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it's probably no surprise that we can't all go and have access to it like we can with Uluru.
Interesting. Well, cut off and cut down is a good way of putting it. So, all right, well, we'll keep that on our radar. Mount Connor.
Yeah.
You know the Indigenous name for it, Adam?
Yeah, Attila, I think it's called. Attila.
Attila?
Yeah,
Attila
as
the
in the
Hun.
Hun. Yeah.
Attila, and now it's a con.
Yeah, a Hun gone, yeah. Yeah, it's very strange. Bald Rock, of course, is fascinating too. Another giant rock up near the border of Queensland, New South Wales.
Wow.
A big part of the ascension narrative is that the Earth's frequency is raising. So if when we are connected with the Earth and the Earth is us, so we're experiencing perhaps the Earth actually growing and becoming the beautiful place that it is. And perhaps, the way that part of the narrative was about how the people that don't ascend, they stay and they go off to other planets or this or that. But maybe what that's really saying is they're going to stay in their hive cities. And it's not even going to be part of our world because we're beyond that. We've gone to these other places of the true, the new Earth or what have you.
Yeah, that's a good point, Liam.
Two realities merging.
Yeah, maybe we get the choice now, but I've always felt since I was a kid, when you look around, I felt that the reality was the realm was stitched together in some way. When you consider all the European countries and how diverse their cultures are and how small and how close together they are in their borders, Spain and Portugal, on one side of the road, everyone speaks a completely different language and has a different culture than the other side of the road. And they're literally kilometers apart from each other, France, Belgium, Germany, all those areas, Italy, they're all so close together, but they all speak completely different languages. It's just like bits and pieces have been sort of stuck together all across the world. And, knowing with our timeline, I guess when we had the likes of Cook navigating the Pacific and things like that, that the navigation system, which was produced for the British Empire, was done by John Dee, who was a practicing magician. And in 1769, Cook was actually dispatched to observe the transit of Venus in the South Pacific, and what were they actually doing out here then? They were saying, they were discovering new lands perhaps, or when you look at the geometries which Venus sort of patterns when she moves across the night sky, over years, it follows the principles of sacred geometry. And the flowers and all the vegetation we see in this realm are kind of patterned after the movements of Venus and tied in with that sacred geometry. So could it be a matter of timing when people go exploring, new lands actually are presented to them in a way that they are sort of manifest in a way, due to archaeoastronomy or astronomical and astrological principles. Yeah.
Oh, and also just this, the idea of the journey, all the ancient maps were mystical adventure templates. I walked across Spain on the Camino de Santiago 2015. And when I entered the Basque country, in the middle of nowhere in the fields, there was a man playing the bagpipes as I entered into this realm. And then suddenly it was like I was in Scotland or somewhere like that. And it was just a completely different world. So I had this experience of as if going through into another realm. And I think that's what everything is. And that's why they try and keep everyone in their matrix cities and iron curtain and everything and frequency control, because they don't want people going out into the...
When I was sort of studying Bruce Cathy's work, I got the chance to spend a bit of time with him, and he always used to look at me. He was an airline pilot himself, and he always used to look at me and go, that when we're actually traveling, we're moving across space and time, in a way. And he looked at me with a curious look, and as if, and I said, yeah, of course I know that, I hop in my car, I go from A to B, or I fly to the US or wherever. But he looked at me, it's our way that we perceive it. And if we begin to start looking at space and time in a different way, we might be more open to being able to perceive these different layers of reality, perhaps.
Space and time is the 2 dimensions, isn't it? And every time.
Yeah, it's a definition. And by definition, I guess all definitions are there, especially if they've sprung forth from the English language, are probably to provide us with limitations more than explanations in a way.
That's another way that they're controlling everyone with the GPS systems and everything, and the Google Earth. So, this is what it's all is. Don't go here. There's nothing here.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you know that door, like Amaru Muru? Is that what it's called
in Peru?
In Peru, yeah. So like we mentioned last week when Joe and Kel were talking that ghosts, right? They could be people in the same space but on a different frequency, and that's why they can walk through walls, because in their frequency there is no wall there. So the doors, right? If we're on the same frequency, are they actually doors? And they're not solid rock. And that's so you raise the frequency and suddenly that's a doorway.
Yeah, I think that's about density or not. Yeah, a ghost is less dense than a human.
Which is a higher frequency, pretty much, isn't it?
I've been 100% experiencing something similar to this recently, because I'm sure everyone's noticing this, right? You get a lot of people now and they got sunglasses on, they got the ear pods and they got the mask, and they're walking and they're blind. I'll be sitting by the river playing the didgeridoo or something, and someone will walk past me and they won't even see me. And it's like, how can you not see the guy playing the didgeridoo on the river? But they can't, because they're different. They're in a different world, and we're able to see it.
Yeah, that's right, Liam. It seems like we're being blinkered, and it's for very nefarious reasons. We've known this has been going on for a while, but I understand it even more clearly now, because the first time I went to the Australian desert was probably earlier this year, and I sort of threw my dirt bike in my van, and I had a couple of weeks off, and I was going to go, right, I'm going to go ride to Walpena Pound. So I drove across New South Wales and ended up in South Australia. Then I hopped on my bike. I had about 300 k's to go with all the fuel, so off I went and camped the first night. That was all good. Carried on the next day, got about 50 kilometres in, and then I destroyed the clutch on the motorcycle, and I didn't have a spare clutch, so I was kind of faced with the 2-day walk out. I remembered where the nearest station was, so I started hiking, and over that time my senses came alive, because there's not a lot for your eyes to bump into. You start noticing minute details, and then I started looking at animal tracks, and the whole area took on a different hue over those 2 days where I had to hike back to civilization. And by the time I left, I ended up loving the place. I thought, man, this place is absolutely magical, and it took me a while to sort of settle into that. But when I got back to the city, everything kind of squeezed in again, and it's definitely the case with our fellow mankind, and the way that they sort of were being pushed and manipulated. Now, I went down to Victoria just before the lockdown to pick up a motorbike that I bought down there. And when I was driving back, I was noticing how extraordinary the landscape looked. It just seemed to come at me with a different light, different hues. And the thought occurred to me is like, well, why is everyone being locked down at this time and they're kept inside? It did seem like a shift. And I remember some people mentioning after the Melbourne earthquake also, it might have been you, Kelly, that it could have been a jolt in human consciousness, because everything seems to be in a state of flux at the moment, and they don't want people sort of focusing on the beauty or the opportunity or nature itself for whatever reason. That was just a sort of a random thought anyway. I don't know. What do you reckon, guys?
Well, after the 21st of December last year, overnight, the sky looked different. The clouds looked different. I felt like I was in an oil painting on the 22nd of December. There was such a difference in the sky. So something shifted back then. I really could see it with my eyes for the first time.
An interesting thing I noted about the earthquake in Melbourne was that I believe it's come from the Morning Star mine up in Woods Point, because in public knowledge that mine goes down 750 meters apparently. There's like no one out there, and that's on the earthquake map. That's where it's all come from, as well as the Bunyip State Park in the east of Victoria. So I wonder what they're doing with these mines.
Yeah, because there's no fault lines under Melbourne, no recorded history of anything like that. There should be absolutely no earthquake unless something.
We learned that in primary school, you know.
Did hear a guy speak about that none of his animals were spooked, and I found that really interesting because we felt it pretty heavily here.
I didn't feel it at all. I was at the beach.
Maybe it came from. Maybe it was something else to keep us indoors, to keep us in fear, just another thing to scare us off back in
We should have had waves, right? Like if their story of Australia is all on one tectonic plate, then if that's what's going to cause an earthquake, then clearly that's going to be in the ocean, like where the joint is. So massive waves should be the result. So it's just silly.
And on the map also you see it's just like specific points in Melbourne that got hit with it, then the Bunyip Park and then Woods Point. So it's not like a consistent wave that's hit. It's
yeah,
like
it was
targeted.
more like a lightning strike, which happened in Christchurch. You know, it seemed like where most of the damage was, there could be a street that was half submerged because of liquefaction, and then 2 streets over, everything was fine. You know, and it sort of appeared like a lightning strike going through the ground.
So basically, whatever they tell us it is, it definitely isn't that. So we can definitely say that wasn't an earthquake. Like whatever the news, we can take the news now as a good measurement for us, because if it's on the news and whatever they're saying, we know to look in the other direction and there will be the news. So that's a good way of guiding the news. So I want to tell you guys something. So when we had this conversation the other night with the sister. So Campbell and I started this journey because we had this conversation with the Strongs, and they mentioned to us that convicts were escaping. There were stories of convicts escaping. We're going to say soldiers, because the whole convict story is bullshit. Like soldiers that were brought over to fight a war with our magical Indigenous were escaping and trying to get out into the middle of centre of Australia, because the Indigenous brothers had told them that all the white fellas are out there in the city. Like, go to the city. They're all out there. Go and join them. What are you doing here? So that started our quest. Now, so the Strongs really opened our eyes up to the fact that this whole idea of the convicts was bullshit. And in actual fact, so last night, the conversation I had brought me more details to that story. So our sister, she said to me that the Aboriginals here in Australia were the law keepers for the world. That a civilization started in Australia and that we were the law keepers of the world. So when the nefarious forces wanted to come in and reset everything, they had to break the law. They had to go and literally physically break the law. So apparently Captain Cook, stories are through the Indigenous history, that Captain Cook arrived not when Australia was founded and the first fleet arrived, but actually around 1717, where he came and he reported on seeing temples and portals. And it was after that moment that he sent back for the fleet to join him to launch a war. So he was coming here to scope out the state of who they were up against and what was here. The original law keepers, highly regarded and highly respected and highly sacred around the realm. And that is why we find artifacts, Australian artifacts, I should say Australian, Indigenous, original people artifacts in tombs around the world, because they were gifts, right? Way before there should have been any relationship there. So yeah, she was saying that's what actually happened, but the Cook had reported on portals and temples. And even in that article just then that you read, Campbell, it said the word temples. The word temples. When do we ever hear or see any evidence of the word temple here in Australia? That is something that's been removed from the Australian history. We never hear about temples. Joe?
I'd like to backward to what you were saying before, Brendan, about the senses. You know, like we all know that that comfort dulls our senses, and we are so comfortable in our modern day lives. Like, I think maybe part of the quest of the Crystal City and seeing it is to, you know, to try and tune our vibrations finer, which means fasting, which means going without, being outside of your comfort zone, so you can really tune into things that you wouldn't normally notice before because you're so comfortable. Yeah, it's good to break out of that comfort, I think.
Well, I think for those who are willing to actually get in their cars and make a mission out into the unknown Alice Springs desert, I think that's an excellent starting point of getting out of our comfort zone. And again, it's
still get out of Victoria.
To 50 degree days.
I mean, I think my whole life has been filled with uncomfortableness. So I don't know if that's what caused me to know about all these things or if it's vice versa, but I definitely think that's a huge part of it.
I think so too.
I don't think you can just be comfortable, and if you're, like you said, if you're so comfortable, you're not thinking about anything. Why would you have to, right? So I totally agree.
So I'm going to continue to tell you the story. So now they knew that this nefarious force was coming, and so they moved the law. They moved the law from the east coast of Australia, which was what our sister said was the origin of civilization and where the tribes all sprang out from, and kinship was very important to them. They moved it to the heart of Australia, the law, the literal law. She also said at this point that she'd had the dream about the Crystal City, and that she answers to spirit, and the Crystal City hadn't taken the dream interpretation to get the ancestors to tell her what it meant until obviously this moment when we've all turned up as this group saying, we're off to find the Crystal City in Australia. Well, what are your thoughts on that? So she was talking about a prophecy in the Indigenous storytelling when she was a child that everyone knew apparently, that said that all eyes would be eventually on Australia. That was a prophecy that went through all of their Indigenous story. All eyes would be on Australia, and that the first would end up last and the last would end up first. So if we're talking about the original law of the original law of source, created, the creation law, God's law, whatever word you want to put on it, but the original law that maintains our connection to our divinity, to our hearts, to love, to whatever you think this ascension event's going to be or is, or whatever your language, doesn't matter what words you're using, like this understanding that we are connected to a co-creative source force that is anchored in love. And that energetic started here in Australia and has been protected in Australia and has somehow been moved to the desert in Australia, and that our desert has been really brutally deleted from our consciousness and brutally deleted from the people that were, I guess, protecting it and holding it and maintaining it. We've now in this adventure to sort of like, I don't know, it feels like we're going to stand with the law keepers. So that's a bit of a summary of what she had to say. So she was blown away that we were hunting for Crystal City after she'd had this dream, blown away. Anyone's thoughts on that?
Was that original place, Kelly, that before they moved into Central Australia in Byron?
It's the east coast of Australia, that whole area.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Around the Lismore, Byron, that whole strip there.
Well, I think Mount Warning is the first place to see the sun coming up from the east coast of Australia, so maybe it's around there.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to me that there's that's the only place in Australia you can't find Tartarian buildings.
That's true. Other sacred sites. I think there's also a Budjalung legend that obviously the first sun or the most easterly point is the lighthouse at Byron, and then there's a serpent energy that comes from that point that runs through Mount Warning and then runs through inland, Western New South Wales, and then runs all the way out to Central Australia. So they do talk about that sort of connection between the East Coast and Centralia in that way.
lighthouse.
I just
I have an interesting story that happened to me at the end of last year. So towards the end of last year, a lot of metaphysical warfare was happening against me. My brother got like MK Ultra basically, and he was like he was possessed by a nefarious spirit. And we went on a big quest up to Byron Bay, and we went to that Crystal Palace in Byron Bay, and then that night he went off and into the night with a woman, and I didn't see him again. And I went up to the lighthouse, and when I was up, I went up to the lighthouse, and then I came back down. And as I was coming, my car was parked outside the Arts Factory, if you know the Arts Factory in Byron Bay. And as I was going, this van rocked up, and he was like, "Where are you going?" Arts Factory, get in. And I wasn't going to get in, but then for some reason I got in. And first thing he's completely tripped out on acid, this character, driving the van. And I don't know, I was in it. And anyway, he ends up dosing me up with like three drops of pure acid. And he was a Bangjalan character, but the name that I have for him is the Lizard King. He didn't tell me that was his name, but that's the name that I have. And he burnt my palm with a smoke, and he tried to do those sort of like the faces that you'd see in the Buddhist, those demon spirits in Buddhism. And we did like a Om together, and he was like a powerful spirit. And then anyway, he revealed his true face to me, which was like blue, and it is an ancient being, but definitely a negative entity. And we had this conversation where I basically was saying, you know, it's okay for you to move on, and the war's been going on for so long. I don't understand what the point of this whole thing is. And then he saw some women, and like the Arts Factory is like, I realized the Arts Factory is actually like a multi-dimensional, like a higher dimensional realm where these entities live. Because I've met like people from Lemuria, and everyone's tripped out on drugs there and stuff. And anyway, there was some other characters there that were like sort of old king sort of spirits, like wizards, speaking in different languages. And anyway, I got out of there, and then I was getting attacked on the main beach with music by some indigenous characters. They were attacking me with like the sound waves. And then I spent the night on the beach. I managed to get through it. It was like a long night of the soul sort of thing. And then I disappeared. I got out of there, and I slept in the car for 2 nights, I think, in Ballina. And then after that, I was walking, and I managed to get a lift into town with this old boy, and he first thing he said to me was, "I have missing time," and he'd been abducted by UFOs and that sort of stuff. That was the first thing he said to me. And then after all this, I basically was like, all right, like cut up. I was basically like ready to just be like, cut up all my identification documents and all that, and just go into the desert. And that was where I was at the time. Of course, I'm back in Victoria, back in Melbourne, but it was a crazy experience. And I don't know exactly who this entity was, but it was an ancient being, and it was sort of negative. But it's hard to tell with these sort of characters whether they're performing a role for you that is appears negative, but they're actually like just killing something in you and initiating you, providing you some sort of test to continue.
mean, without getting into it too much, we have had one incident with a Belgian backpacker around between a club and the arts factory who went missing, was last seen taken off in a van and vanished without a trace. And the whole community helped out. That's not common. We don't have any major serious crime around here, but that was very uncommon. And he did vanish, but there was suggestions, a few messages that suggested that he actually did come across other people and was found, his phone was beeping down near the lighthouse, but there was no body ever found, no piece of clothing ever found. He literally vanished from Earth. No one's ever seen or heard of him again, this Belgian backpacker.
That's what I was going to say as well. When I was on the beach across the night, I saw lots and lots of light ships all fighting like a war in the sky in that specific area. And when I woke up, it was like the whole, not woke up, when the day came, it was like huge storms had ravished. I mean, the Byron foreshore and all that is like destroyed, it seems to me. Yeah. And I think that's got a big part to do with it. It feels to me like in that Byron area, there's some crazy, it's a focal point.
For sure.
Hey, I remember when you were up there. I remember being up there at that time when that storm happened. Hello?
Hi, Nick. You're coming in and out. Speak again.
Oh. How about now? Can you hear me?
That's better.
Yeah, I haven't done this before, so I'm pretty new to all this.
Welcome.
I remember that storm that you're talking about. It was like in 2017 or something up in Byron, and it was counted as the most amount of lightning strikes in one day, in one night. And it was like, we were there. I was living in the Shannon at that time. And I remember that person who died, they went up the top of Mount Warning. Is that the story you're talking about? I only just chimed in.
That was another story, but yeah, someone died hit by lightning at the top of Mount Warning, and it's never been open ever since after that to the public.
Yeah, I remember that night, and it was like the sky just looked like a strobe light. It was like so crazy that night, and I don't know, I swear we were thinking there was like a war happening up there or something, but we've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So is Mount Warning cut off to the public at the moment?
It's never been reopened, and that incident that he just referred to, where I think they were two American tourists, and they walked to the top, they camped out, they were in a tent, they were struck by lightning, they died, and then they used that as a reason, the storm damage, and that to cut off access to the public. Then that turned into renovations and improvements, and that went on for a few years since. Everyone expected that to be completed and that to provide access again to those who wanted it, but it just never happened. And then just recently it was sort of announced that it will never reopen again to climb. Which for some isn't such a bad thing, because it's protecting some of the Indigenous Budjalung sort of wishes to not necessarily climb it, but it's certainly strange. There's still a bit of strangeness around the entire story, that's for sure.
A few months ago down here in Central Vic, we had some huge storms, and there was like lots and lots of acres of forest that was pushed over and blown over in the most obscure way. I think it was actually energy weapons, but anyway, the point of that was, and then in turn they've shut the whole forest down. No one's been able to go into the forest since, and it is part of the forest there all the magic mushrooms grow. So are they trying to stop us going, any point they can to stop us reaching our higher dimensions and frequency? I mean, even going into the forest is, just to be able to not let people do that. What are they up to?
Yeah, severing our connection with nature even more.
They've systemically been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. So they've shut down Mount Warning, they've shut down Uluru, they've shut down the forest around the Dalesford, Victoria mountain ranges. So it'd be very interesting to see, actually, what, if we actually did some research on what else has been shut down, significant mountains, forest areas, outcrops around Australia.
So I think the Buchan Caves and all that, because they're unsafe, there's so many places that you can't access anymore. Bizarre.
Interesting. And I wonder if they all accompany a storm of some description.
They even were trying to ban surfing.
They were trying to ban surfing. Oh no, that sounds like COVID fuckiness.
That'll fail.
Fuckness.
So it's really weird when they say they're having to renovate a mountain, isn't it? You think, renovate a mountain.
Oh,
Fellas.
and a doorway.
So that's not the first time I've heard that night at Byron Bay was like a war in the sky. Like to hear you guys describe it, I've heard this too, that it literally felt like there was a war going on above your heads. So that's a really interesting thing to make note of.
Yeah, Byron's weird. It's definitely got interesting energy.
One of the other things that I felt during that time was that the seagulls were all holographic, and that seagulls are like weaponed creatures.
Like drones.
Yeah, like something off with seagulls.
I think there's also, you know, for people locals like us that have been around for a while too, you know, who are, you know, perhaps protected up in the mountains and the rainforests or around Mullumbimby or some of the hinterland villages, you know, so few of us are attracted to go into Byron itself anymore, even though it's close. But the changing demographic, the change of people, attitudes, wealth, money, celebrities, there's just something odd. We've all heard and seen of this sort of piling in of money and celebrities, and it's sort of changing that frequency. And you just sort of, you know, you do wonder if that's sort of, you know, perhaps contrived a little bit too.
Yeah, I think you're onto it, Adam. You know, the consciousness of everyone in such a sort of energetically active or sacred space sort of attracts a lot of people, you know, and they're all at different levels of consciousness, and they all probably need some sort of healing and some sort of level, but just the noise floor level is lifted exponentially, and that could sort of cause some extreme things to happen in sensitive energetic environments with people. I noticed it when I went to Peru, you know, like a lot of issues that I had personally sort of came to the surface really rapidly there, and it was a great time to sort of get all that out. And the Byron Shire and around that area is probably one of those places as well. You know, that's why so many people are attracted to it, because they can do a lot of personal work in a fast amount of time, but the energy's very light there, so they can, you know, you can go through that there. But again, the noise, the more people that go there looking for the same thing, that the noise level is raised, and it kind of does affect the environment somewhat.
Dalesford's on gold, quartz, and there's lots and lots of water underground too, and people are attracted to here, but it's changing very quickly, like Byron. Like people come flocking,
Getting amplified,
and they just come and go to the shops. They don't even check out the forest anymore.
Another interesting,
they're changing the frequency as well here. It's fascinating.
Now that I recall the night, one interesting aspect was in the lead up to all this, it was the night that all of the kids were there for the schoolies, and they had like a doof or something in the dunes, and they were all coming back to the town in a beehive, and I was walking and I actually got assaulted by like some kid off his face, but there was like serious negative energy with all of these kids, you know, in there on that particular night as well.
Yeah, it just falls into a state of chaos.
That's why the rich people go in, because they're lower vibrational people. And it's changing it from, you know, the ether to the 5D to the 3D, right? Focus on what you got, you know, what people look like, what they own, and it just changes the complete tone and frequency of the whole area.
Quartz and gold and water are all amplifiers of energy. So to change the demographic, it definitely has changed the energy and the frequency of the place.
I'd like to know what you guys think too about, you know, once these sort of lockdowns sort of end, if they ever end. But, you know, one of the concerns I think some of us have got, you know, especially in rural and regional areas, is how many people out of the two biggest cities in Australia and some of the, you know, a couple of the biggest cities in the Southern Hemisphere, when they're let out of prison virtually, how many of them might make that choice to make an exodus, to say, I'm not going to put up with maybe risking this ever again. You know, I am going to leave. That's not going to be a majority. It's only going to be a small amount. But, you know, if you take 9 million people who have now the opportunity to leave, and you get, you know, sort of 5% of them, you know, we're talking about tens of thousands of people who may want to leave the two biggest cities in Australia rather than be imprisoned again, perhaps next year. And you know, where will they go and what changes will they bring, and how will that, you know, have an effect on these bigger issues that we're talking about?
Oh, good on them, mate. They want to do that. I think that's a great idea.
Run,
It's
We're
not
about
our
to
business,
become
it's probably-
refugees. We're about to become refugees. I mean, I'm here in Carlton in Melbourne, and I would definitely be leaving the city. In fact, our sister last night, she warned us. She said, sister, you have to leave the city. You have to leave the city, sister. Bad is coming to the city. So, I mean, for us who haven't taken the vaccine, I mean, hello, we're going to have to, I've just seen the essential list, and I can do only my groceries, my banking, and my post. All culture, recreation, entertainment, all community events are all out of bounds for unvaccinated. And like we might get a lapse in over Christmas, but the next strains are going to come next year. Like, there is going to be a migration out of the city. So we are going to have to be responsible for setting up a very new structure in a very new place.
And every single institution in Melbourne, like whatever it is, the museums, the everything, the people planning events, they're all operating in that group think mind state, the
Borg
Agenda 2030 or whatever. That they're all operating in the bureaucracy of it all. Get out. But at the same time, it is our job as light workers to spark magic in these places and wake people up. So that's another aspect of this whole thing. And that's why, like, well, where I am in Ocean Grove, you know, the first thing to come was the 5G tower, and all these people around here, they don't look like locals. They look like zombie drones. And I feel like as a dream weaver here, as a local person, I feel like it's my responsibility while I'm here to smile. Yep,
absolutely. And it's really interesting that with the COVID stuff, obviously I've been marching around the city, taking the videos, that not only have they systematically, and I bet you if we went and actually did some research, over the last couple of years, they would have systematically shut down all the high energy spots around our natural environments and close them down to the public. And now they've also systematically shut down all the Tartarian, all the buildings, or the tours, or you can't get into even the National Library at the moment, you know, and like, I would have loved to have gone and looked at all of our buildings that I've been covering from the inside. I would never be able to do that probably now as an unvaccinated human being. So it's been really interesting that our search through the old realm has systematically been shut. The doors have been shutting while we are opening in another direction. So I just wanted to make that point, that not only is the natural landscape being shut down to the public, also, you know, the cultural landscape.
But that's also moving us out of that system and out of that frequency, isn't it? Saying you don't belong here anymore. You've got to go and create something new. This is for the people with the needles hanging out their arms.
I think a big problem in Melbourne that's going on, that people are falling into the trap, is with the protesters and everything. They're thinking that the cops are them, like they're the same thing, but they're not. I have a suspicion that because all the cops have their radio thing, they're all electronic entities. They're like basically robotoids, cyborgs, and I reckon that it's got something to do with those tunnels. Like, because they're all pale as well. It's like, are they being cloned? Because they're like spawning, multiplying. Are they being grown out of those tunnels?
They are multiplying. I totally agree with you. Like, I can't walk out the street of this house anymore without without 10, 15 cops coming in a group towards me from all different directions. And of course, I've never worn the mask, so I'm an instant focus. And it's very intimidating when it's just, you're not just talking to one personality, you're talking to 10 at any time in regards to this like group that comes around you. It's definitely gotten worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Are they
I
the
was,
victims,
I was,
Kelly, or are they the red and black guys?
They're in black.
They're,
Well,
they're the UN coppers, I think. So they're totally detached. They're UN cyborgs, not.
Well, I mean, I've spoken to heaps of them now because literally I'm getting surrounded every single day at the moment. And like I've just got to the point where I'm saying, guys, I don't believe in you anymore. I just don't believe in you anymore. So like whatever you want to say to me, I don't believe in you. And you know what they keep parodying? All they ever say to me, we believe in the science. We believe in the science. That's all they say. We believe in the science. We believe. And I'm like,
they're a
I
product
don't
of
believe in you,
science.
Karen.
I was sitting in the park last year in Royal Park, and the riot police came over to me. The riot police.
It's so scary.
Me and my brother tried to cross the New South Wales border through the Snowy River. Didn't work. They chased us back. Funny.
Hey, has anyone looked at the police academy from Bird's Eye View on Google Maps?
No, bring it up if you've got it.
Well, that's. I don't know if I can do it with my phone. It's the first time I've tried
yeah.
Zoom, so I don't really know how it works. Can anyone see me?
No.
No.
Put your video on.
Okay, I'll figure that one out. No, like you look at it from Bird's Eye View, it looks like a man standing there holding a gun. Then you can even see bullets coming out. I actually live near the police academy in Victoria, and it's the highest peak in Melbourne, apart from the Dandenongs, but in closer to Melbourne. And they've got the water reserve up there. So if shit ever hits the fan, we've got gravity-fed water coming from the police academy, and they've got all these radio towers and stuff there. So I kind of wonder, if we'll ever use that water one day, or they've got some plan. But I also wonder if that place is like some sort of a doorway to some underworld. They claim that spot in like 1950s. They built this horrible yellow brick looking cathedral up there.
I'll have a look. Where is it, Nick? Where is it?
Just type in Police Academy Victoria.
I've got it here. Hang on. All right.
Oh, I
Which
see.
video
I
are we talking?
see.
Yeah, I'm not sure which direction to look at it from, but you'll see it. It's just like a guy standing there in a Y shape.
Wow.
There's a
huge.
guy.
You see the gun.
Oh, there's a gun there. Okay, yeah, right.
No, you missed the gun.
Oh, where's the gun?
Higher.
That's not the gun.
No, above.
Up here.
It's above that.
Oh, like the much
A little bit
bigger.
up, the white gun. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah, you go up, Campbell, past the oval. Past the oval. Look at that, like it's like a pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, go in a bit more.
This kind of big.
Zoom in. No, zoom in. Now, see where that oval is? Just above that is the bulk of the
I'm in the
gun.
wrong
And then you
spot.
carry the pistol down. And where you were looking at those blue,
This bit.
scroll down. Campbell, scroll down on your screen. All right,
Right.
stop there. Now, see those two blue blocks? If you go up,
Yeah.
this where you thought the gun was, the little gun that you thought those two blue things were the bullets.
Yeah.
Can you see?
So that is that oval. The trigger is it?
No, check out the man. So you got the man, and in his hand, he's holding a white pistol. And then in front of the white pistol, you see like two spots that's got like a road. Looks like a road with a big white line in the middle, and there's just two tiny bits of roads. That kind of looks like the bullets.
Anyway,
Yeah. Okay. All right, there you go. Yeah, Victoria Police Academy.
all right. So the point is,
You know.
we're dealing with a police force that aren't, they're not in service to the new frequency band. They are designed right now to terrify everyone back down to this very limited frequency band. So the more opportunity you get to walk freely among the stormtroopers and know that you don't believe in them anymore, the stronger your energy is going to be at being able to understand that you're free of that authority, that there is no one that has authority over you, that there's no one that is meant to has a right to rule you. That's a big part of breaking down this programming, massive part of breaking down this programming. Jodie,
At the end there, when she says, "You have no power over me anymore," and it breaks the whole spell.
Yep.
And she saves her baby brother and goes home. Notice there's a baby in there.
Yeah, I think they're actually doing us a favor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And all this pandemic and the scamdemic and the lockdown and everything like that. It's given a lot of people who otherwise don't have the opportunity to spend more time at home with their families. It's brought everything to a halt. People aren't moving around. We can't access nature, so that becomes more important to us. And we've had all that time to reevaluate, ourselves and our future paths. So, like every evil in it has its own seeds of demise.
And the funniest thing about the whole lockdown is that it's literally just a mental prison. You can go anywhere you want. You can do whatever you want. No one's stopping you. It's all just fear.
So Joe, light language, Joe. Do you want to tune in a bit? Is anything coming through to you on this dialogue?
I was thinking that it's interesting how we always get drawn back into the narrative of the fear and the police, etc. And that what we have to do, I know we have to acknowledge it, but you need to keep focusing on that, Crystal City. We have to keep holding that frequency as a part of who we are. And that is what is going to draw us out of being frequency specific with that, what's happening in Melbourne, with what's happening in this world. Just like we were saying, and you showed at the end of that Celestine prophecy, when you put that little clip together, Campbell, what's going to help us is embodying that frequency of what that means. How would our life be if we were in that? That is it. You take your gaze off that and you put your gaze and your frequency on that. And that's really what's coming. That's what's coming to me, that we are living, and I have sort of talked about this before, we are living in an artifact of consciousness. We are living because humanity's been programmed a certain way. We as the creators of reality, we as the observers, collapsing that wave of potential into the particle of reality, we've created the earth to look the way that it is. And some of the aliens, whoever you want to think them are, these advanced beings, are really interested in the fact that when we go to work, our house stays in a shape. It stays there until we come home. So they will create what they want energetically in the moment they need it. But then when they don't need it, it goes back to energy.
Dark City.
We are, pardon?
Dark City, where they move things.
Is that what that is? I haven't seen Dark City. But if we keep focusing and putting our energy as the observer on the old reality, we are holding it in place. So you have to spend more time focusing on what it is you want to experience. So yes, this is here. Yes, this is happening, but pull out and put you as your energy and your focus as the observer into the new structure.
Yeah,
so it's like there is, if you think of scaffolding around a building, the scaffolding is there and holding everything in place. But when you are focusing on the new, you're actually almost taking the scaffolding and putting it and creating the new structure from that level of scaffolding, from that level of the beginning of it. And as you look at it and put your energy at it and feel it, this will actually dissolve and will no longer be frequency specific to you. And what you are focusing upon you will become more of a match for that. But the world as it looks like, as it is an artifact of consciousness. The humanity has been programmed to look at the world, and thus it is held in its structure. So we have to pull that focus out.
Because I mean, that's our subconscious really, isn't it? Our self-image that is holding our house and our car in the 3D realm when we're not using them. Because we've got all this subconscious stuff going on and people are like, I'm changing, but unless you change the program you haven't actually changed the frequency. And as far as leaving, so many people are like, I'm just going to keep 1 foot in, just in case. I'll keep 1 foot in and I'll kind of go out there, but just in case. So, you know, there can't be any buts, right? You got to kick butt. You know, no, I'm going looking for the Crystal City, but just in case. And just one thing I've been wanting to say, okay, this whole, the program being layered over us, you know, this whole concept, and which is our belief of what the realm is, right? Which is our perception. It just makes me think of those pyramids that we were looking at, Kelly, in the last video, right? Literally superimposed on the top of the other one. It was literally, is that the program? Is it literally splitting apart in front of us, or are they trying to tell us something? Because that was literally, in Australia, it was pyramids superimposed over whatever was on the ground. It was very, you know, it's very, you know, the 3D is it's almost like, yeah, well, it does, right? The 3D is mimicking the 5D.
Also, like they that we talk about, like the bad guys or whatever, they're really just like they're just part of the video game for us to solve the puzzle. Like they're just part of the simulation to enjoy for the whole magic of the whole thing.
So, Liam, I remember reading a book by, I used to be into UFO research pretty intensely for years.
We all did. We all
and
did.
there was the Mothman prophecies, the guy who wrote that, John Keel, he wrote a book called Operation Trojan Horse, and it was one of my favorite books from the whole UFO thing, because he kind of tied it all together. You know, you hear all the stories of the Greys, the reptilian, and people from Pleiades and all this sort of thing, and morphing ships, etheric ships, nuts and bolts ships, and all this sort of stuff. And he'd spent decades as a dedicated researcher and investigator. And he kind of came to the conclusion at the end of it. He said, well, believe what you want, but they will come to you through your own mind. Your own mind is the gateway for these things. So be careful where you place your awareness or what you focus on, you know. And that's after 25, 30 years of research. That's his conclusion, that these things will come to you through your own mind, which gives, you know, us a pretty big clue of how we should place our focus. Anyone who's into Carlos Castaneda books, Don Juan reiterates time after time after time that everything is given to us as a description, and this is how we form our view of the world. We don't perceive it as it is. It's a description that we interpret as based on what everyone else thinks it is.
Well, none of us even see the same colors, or we
don't know. Yeah.
No, we've all got a different perception through our own filters and experience to see things or hear things totally differently from the next person or the next person. Fascinating.
Which is why no one can be wrong. You know, this whole ego thing, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's everyone's right from their own perspective.
Well, right and wrong is that polarity thing.
It is. And I heard the other day someone talking about the tree of good and evil, and they were saying, well, we've got that message wrong. The message is it's judging things as good and bad, the whole ego part of it. That's what it was talking about. You know, once you judge something as bad, then you can only perceive it as bad, right? It can only be bad energy, right? Because you've defined it as that. And that's the problem. And that also cuts off the creation, right? If everything's defined, creation can't get in there and give you something that you haven't expected.
Hello, and enter the lofty imaginings. The word lofty, where we come up with an idea that we have no emotional attachment to, we haven't put our belief structure into it, we haven't created the parameters. Like, that is the magic of innocence. That is nonsense, the masters of being nonsense. So obviously everyone who's connected with Tartaria around the world has found their way here through the UFO journey. We've all dedicated decades of our lives understanding the UFO, alien agenda, all of that stuff, all of the space realm, the galactics, blah, blah, blah. So it's really interesting. I'd love very quickly to hear everyone's summary now that they've come to Tartaria from there. What is your, summary of all of that?
I think really the aliens are communicating to us all the time, and the primary manner is music, the Deva realm, the art, like even listening just to talks like this or reading books. It's all alien. It's all foreign information that becomes
What's
us. But
that
I
old
think
meme
music.
with I've put as the picture of the alien saying, we keep trying to contact the humans, but they call it techno and they're dancing to
Good.
Yeah, Liam's got a point there. The you know, a lot of the old Tartarian structures are geometric, and way back in the early 2000s, I was living in Wellington in New Zealand, and there was a building at the end of Vivian Street, and it was actually turned into a public toilet. And then they basically cleaned it out and it was turned into a restaurant. And there was a dome at one end of it. And they always used to like to have guests booked a special table there, and you'd sit under this dome. And if you were standing in the right place and you sort of said something, or you toned, or you sang, it would produce this unusual resonance, and everything would go sort of dead. Everything would feel like you're in an anechoic chamber, if people know what I'm talking about. And there was something to do with the geometry of that structure, and sound was kind of a key to unlock that, you know, and create a space in that area. So where I sort of got compelled by this is when Kelly, one of her first videos she posted, she went into a building in Melbourne and she looked up at the roof with the camera, and the lady there asked her to leave. I'm sure we've probably all seen that. And I don't know what that building was, but looking at the roof of that building and the way that that dome was structured, it's obviously designed for some sort of sound or musical or some sort of resonance.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was going to just talk briefly about Newman College, and maybe I'll just share just some photos to show you. Here we go. Is that working?
Almost.
Can you see?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this apparently is when they were laying the foundation stone. Apparently it took them 3 years to build the building, and it cost them £40,000 apparently. Mm-hmm. And of course, though, they have photos of apparently when they were building the thing. Apparently, they say that these images have been in an envelope for 100 years. And anyway, when Kelly
in an envelope for 100.
Yes, yes. And of course, none of these pictures show anything like the dome or anything being created at all.
And guys, you can't see anything.
No, it's nothing. It's crazy. What was I going to say? So I emailed after I watched that video that Callie posted. I emailed a guy at the college who did his PhD and wrote a whole book on the founding of Newman College, and I wanted to know what information there was about how it was all built and everything. And he replied back. First thing he told me was that he's now an Indigenous advisor up in Canberra. I thought, oh, well, that's wonderful. But anyway, he said there was basically no information, just these photos and this picture. And so this is in the tunnels of Newman. It's like a L-shaped building, and these are all sandstone. It's basically like a fort or something. It's really amazing. I was living in one of these rooms. This is the chapel that's there.
Guys, this is the Newman College, for anyone who doesn't remember, is the building that I took that had all those, like, it was very low and unusual, and it had those like tech spikes coming out of it. Have you got an actual picture of the outside? Don't worry.
Yeah, so
carry on. There it is. Oh, that's the chapel.
Yeah,
that
so
one.
that's the dome.
Yeah.
And so here, this is facing west, so the sun sets and comes right through this. It's just amazing, and the acoustics in this chapel are really beautiful. I've played music there, so you can see there it's coming through. And that's another picture. But what I was going to say about the dome, there's two spots in the dome where on either side you can hear exactly what the person is saying on the opposite side if you're just in the right spots. And when you enter into this dome, there's another spot where there's like like a quarter sphere, and you stand there and you get this sonorous, deep resonance as you speak there. Yeah, really amazing building, and they just have a full fake they're run by the Jesuits, and also Xavier College out in Kew has another huge big Tartarian temple. So they've come in, and one of the interesting parts of the whole story that they tell with this building is that it was funded by the Irish Catholics, or they mention the Irish, and they try and like link in with Irish, but it's all Rome. I had another picture somewhere of this is the ceremony that they did when the Catholics came and founded it, or what have you. And there was one other thing that was interesting. It escapes me, but anyway, it's a cesspool there. It's like all the people that are in that building, they're all like kind of like it's like a Freemasonry sort of organization where they're connected with like all the billionaires and the politicians and stuff. Tony Abbott, these sort of characters.
Are there any underground tunnels that you know of, Liam? There?
Yeah, there is. I don't know if there's a tunnel, but there's underground chamber under the dome.
Probably connects to Xavier College.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I mean, Melbourne University, the whole place. They're like castles. It's unreal.
I've been skirting around the outskirts, Liam, because I can't get into the actual college because it's all locked. But my God, it's like entering a medieval Camelot. I mean, that whole space is just unbelievably enchanting and crazy old realm. Like I honestly felt like even on the outskirts, I was looking at an ancient village in Europe.
Oh, that's what it's like completely. It's unreal. Like in my last year, I think I've tripped the most acid in Newman College, and it is a beautiful place.
Did you come across any beings on your trips from within the college?
No, not really like that. I just used to like watch kind of like the autistic sort of characters and the way that they'd be, and in the dining hall, which is like the dome, they have it as the dining hall. I sort of had a perspective of it as like a beehive, and everyone was operating there like as a beehive. They're very the administration there, the guy who is the provost, he's part of the Rhodesia Society. He's very big into all that, which is interesting, with sort of, I don't know, the like Cecil Rhodes and all these characters. It seems like a whole just military operation thing that they were doing. And they're all very like fake, what's the word? They're really phony, fake sincerity. I don't know. It was an odd place to live. It was like a topsy-turvy place to live, and I wasn't expecting to live there. But I was in this car accident, then 1 month later I was living there, and I had no idea about any of these colleges, even though I grew up in Carlton, and I'd run around Princes Park and I'd run past these colleges. I didn't even think I was allowed to go into Melbourne University when I was a kid. I'd go around skateboarding, and I thought it was like off bounds.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
So Liam, maybe you received a healing in the frequencies of the buildings, and that's why you ended up there.
I think so. It was a magical place. It was just like it was like it's been stolen.
Yeah, and those places, I mean, it sounds like it's still got a lot going on underground. They've probably got old books in there too, but those places seem to be where, the underground kind of mixes with the above ground reality, if you know what I mean. That's why they're so weird, because you've got this whole big underground scene of people who see reality one way, and then there's sort of, you know, serving up the reality they want us to believe to all the students there. So
Yeah.
yeah, very weird energy.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that you'd probably agree with me, Liam, that I was like looking at Melbourne City last night because I can see it from where I live, the whole cityscape, and it feels like it's changing to me. Like the city itself, the image of the city, the visual image of the city, the light that it emits, it feels like it's shifting, and not for the good. It feels
I wonder too, in a lot of the incredible cathedrals and structures, like especially if they've still got any of their antiquitech or antennas or whatever, like you get 300 people in there going to mass, all with mobile phones in their pockets now. I know that's illegal, but you know. When we can, or still, but everyone with their mobile phones, like, is that sending out negative negative vibes back out?
Melbourne's also just completely awash in the Wi-Fi and 5G and everything everywhere.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something is shifting. I mean, I heed our sisters' warning to leave the city. I think for anyone who isn't in a sovereign, sustainable space right now, and actually like are retaining their sovereignty and keeping away from the apple juice, we literally will end up needing to be grounded in nature. Like, there's no way around that. Like, new community, new schools, new systems. Pardon?
Get back up here.
Yeah, I know. Like, we need to be in a situation now where there's going to be a flux of people moving and needing to rely on each other and form that connected group that's going to actually help us create these new spaces. I mean, the Steiner School is falling. The Steiner School is falling to the vax and the masks, which is
really?
Yes, really.
Yeah, I feel like so many of these like these places are just so bureaucratized and controlled. It's like the Vipassana centers, like that. It's like, if you're really about the Dharma, you're gonna like you keep doing it. You don't care. Like, why do you care about what the government's telling you? You keep meditating. But they all just bureaucratic structures.
It's ridiculous. But I mean, this is also why they've been infiltrated, haven't they? This is probably their last sort of plan is, you know, all these people who are fairly stymied, like, you know, they're on a different level to the normies, but they're hoping that saying that they're going to push some of them into the vax now, saying, oh, well, we qualified as something good. You all have to have it. But it's the same story. It's just, if it's just ridiculous. If you believe in the creator, why would you ever need anything created by a man who was created by the creator? How could that possibly help you? That doesn't make sense. That's going backwards.
You know, Campbell, here in Melbourne, you actually have to get double vax to go to yoga now. It's fucking funny, don't you think? That's like,
it's hilarious.
I mean,
oxymoronic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same as the health food store.
But even just that sentence, go to yoga.
Yeah.
It's like yoga's always there for you. You don't need to go anywhere. It's just there.
I think like the most subtle underplay of all this is that in doing it the way they're doing it, they're stripping people from their connection with community. Like, if you take away all the like rules and regulations, and it comes down to being cut away from community, and then like taking the vaccine, being reintegrated into community, like that reset. It's such a subtle reset. Like, you've got your apple juice, you can reintegrate with your peers.
And don't talk to anybody about anything.
Yeah. That's where I really feel like, for everyone who's still listening, you're doing fucking well. We're like 2.5 hours in. You're falling with us. If you're still listening to this, like, coming to the desert is more than just going on a quest, which is very fucking perfect and noble. It's more than just seeing a crystal city. It's actually also about getting a fucking goddamn hit of vitamin D. It's about recharging your batteries. It's about it's getting your vitamin and mineral content like pumped up again. Because if you're standing in any of these city centers like me, they are draining our batteries. Like, all of my mineral and vitamin levels in my being are low. And we need that, really need that massive energetic hit to get through what's coming next year. So just from a pure non-apple juice precaution, I would really highly recommend that the Tartarian hunters do spend a week or 2 or 3 or 4 in the hardcore Australian sunshine. They can shut down our mountains, for fuck's sake. They can shut down our cultural centers. They can shut down our beaches, you know, but they can never shut down the outback. Like, it's too fucking big, and they cannot shut down these. Well, I was about to say they can't shut down the sun, but they actually probably can with all their weather technology. But like, seriously, guys, you've got a vast desert out there. There's no COVID out there. Like, head towards it. You need that hit of energy. Like, I feel that very powerfully.
And it's funny because that was like in the Australian psyche, the sun has been like the enemy. Oh, put your sunscreen on and you're going to get skin cancer, and the ozone layers are damaged here.
Cool. Sunnies are cool.
Oh, sunnies are I think the
slap. It's pushed hard to block out the sun. Yeah.
Pushed hard. Well, actually, someone in the chat, hi there, just said that buttermilk is an excellent vitamin D supplement. So that's interesting. I've never heard that, but I definitely know we need fucking vitamin D right now. We need that source blast. And so that's like one of the main reasons that the desert is just so appealing right now. And gosh, Australians, I shouldn't say Australians, Tartarian hunters, wake up to the impact that you are in this amazing, magical land, and that, you know, there's nothing stopping you from entering it. You don't have to stay in your houses. You don't have to do that. Like, we can cross over to this magical space. We can enter, we can be sovereign, we can be adventurous, we can be bold and courageous, we can be leaders, we can be fucking storytellers, but we got to make the trek.
I've just pulled a card. I know, I'm a tarot card reader, so it's called Hidden Path. So let me read what it says. You have traveled far in search of greater meaning and fulfillment, having made much progress and learning valuable lessons. You want to continue your journey, but the road seems to have come to an end. Where do you go from here? The symbolic imagery on the card is set within a magical forest. It seems inviting, yet the way forward is not clear. No physical path exists. However, there is a way forward. Between the trees is a symbol for eternal life, and to the right, a symbol for healing and protection. This card is inviting you to move forward spiritually and offers you healing and protection along the way. Spirit and matter must now merge if true progress is to be made. Your rational mind must align with your heart. When heart and mind are both focused on the same goal, great things are possible.
Yay!
There you go, guys. Got any more proof?
I think at this point, I don't think we're no longer Australians. We're astral aliens. Come on.
Astral aliens. I love it.
Master areas, yeah.
Well,
Wow. And also, if you are in another country, you know, you don't have to come to Australia. You can. I'm sure there's crystal cities everywhere. Start a quest in your own, you know, little corner of the plane and see what you can find. Because this is, like we've said, this is much more about breaking through the mental and the facade and the programming to see what's really there. So this can be done everywhere, you know.
Yeah, you're taking fossicking to a whole new level there, Campbell.
Absolutely.
Yeah, went out to the desert. What did you find? Oh, I found a crystal city, you know, an ancient civilization.
So I think the conclusion is that Joe has been inspired to go before us and set up home in Alice Springs on some level. So I think we'll be all heading to Alice Springs as our meetup point, which is really obvious and good. And then from there, we begin the quest, potentially on foot, who knows, but we begin the quest from Alice Springs and let it lead us. And of course, we're not going to do this without our original people giving us and guiding us through their territories and their laws. We're going to, this journey must The parameters of our magical journey are our original laws. So they're going to be entwined in a really beautiful way. And we're going to be journeying as one corroboree through this space. So, and I'm so excited to actually capture this whole journey on all different, I mean, I'll be filming, Campbell will be filming, Joe and Ricardo, I hope you're coming. Joe will be, like, everyone's going to be coming in from all their directions, from all over Australia, like just going through the Tartarian landscape. It's going to be an extraordinary new look at Australia as a Territorian. I hope that it inspires in other countries and other groups to do a similar process. It would be quite something if we led the way in actually discovering the first frequency, Crystal City. It all began here. All eyes are going to be on Australia. Let's be part of that prophecy. Let's be part of that prophecy, not from the nefarious bullshit, but from the fucking new frequency. Amazing. So guys, like, say any last words, any last thoughts, sentiments, energies you'd like to talk out, and then I think we should probably bring this
to an end.
to a close.
Been a bit epic.
I have a short song from Lake Pokhara in Nepal. Follow the river, it leads to the sea. Now follow the current, it leads you and me. Follow the river, it leads to the sea. Follow the current, it leads you and me. And we, the electricity, the electricity. Everybody, hey, follow the river, it leads to the sea. Follow the current, it leads you and me.
Don't know the words. Wow, thank you.
Follow to that inland sea. Is that what you're saying, Leah? Are you saying we have to head towards that inland sea?
So there you go. Yes, and if you do wish to fly into Australia and join our crazy crew, please feel welcome.
Yeah, we won't be flying.
Don't do that to get here.
We have to get our magic carpets.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we allowed?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're like literally can't fly in or out or around Australia without the apple juice at the moment. So we're now needing to get our magic carpets up and running, and our fucking troopies, our freaking Range Rovers and Land Rovers and
Coaster buses.
I found out that there's actually a path that goes from Victoria all the way to Queensland. It's like a horse trail. I can't remember exactly the name of it.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think our calling is to get cars that don't need fucking to be on the main roads. We need to be on 4-wheel drives.
Yeah, and also hydrogen generators and run them on water.
You just have to take it to the next level, Campbell, don't you? Like, 4-wheel drives are easy. Getting them on hydrogen power.
All right, need free energy.
Powered by Ormus.
Oh yeah, you run it on Ormus, yeah.
All right. Amazing. Anyone? Quickly.
I'm all good.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm all good.
Sweet.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Campbell. Thank you, everyone. Nice to meet all of you.
Absolute
Likewise.
pleasure.
So I think we've started something. Yeah, if you're not in the Facebook group, get on there. We'll talk about maybe getting a Telegram or some other group that's more conversation based, where we can get in and actually just converse. But we'll definitely let you know about that. But this is started, guys. So see it here, create it, and we will see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So our hunt for the Crystal City continues. I think we should aim to do a Zoom meetup regularly where everyone can get on and add their piece and really get to know each other, because it's just so awesome to see all your faces. I love that. So it's been a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you so much for all your contributions. Thank you for joining us today and making the effort with the leading edge thinkers of this realm right now. Woo! Yeah. Okay, guys, you have the best afternoon ever, and I will see you all on the YouTube and Facebook.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Kelly.
guys. Love you all.
Bye.
Stay awesome.
Allez, va! Balai, balai!